What's up, guys? Season 3 Talk About It. It's Michael here. Today we're going to be joined by Ryan Shantz of SumoQuote.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
What's up, guys? Back here again. Talk About It. Season 3. Today we're joined by Ryan Shantz of SumoQuote. I've got some taco in tacos. I'm going to enjoy some tacos, and we're going to hear what advice Ryan Shantz has for contractors. Before we get into your advice, Ryan, maybe just tell them a little bit about yourself and your background in the industry.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Michael. I'm the founder of a company called SumoQuote. We help build great quotes, if you haven't heard of us before, specifically for roofing contractors. But I'm also the owner of a roofing exteriors company up in Canada here. So the roofing exteriors company up here, Epic Roofing Exteriors, my partners run that. I run SumoQuote. But I've been in this industry a long time and done sales for a long time here. I love the industry, especially right now with all this COVID craziness. Like, best industry that we could be in right now. So it's great.
Yeah, so in that, SumoQuote, and then the fact that you own a roofing company, not only do they qualify you to give good advice, but I think they really align with the advice that you gave. I know your advice was along the lines of differentiation of your business and adding value to the consumer. Elaborate a little bit on that, and then we'll dive into some more questions.
Sure. We were trying to figure out, as a roofing company, in Calgary here, which is 1.2 million people, there's about 1,000 roofing contractors. So there's a ton of contractors out there that we're competing against. In our province, we've been, lucky to become the largest residential roofing contractor here. But we were trying to figure out, how do we stand out and set ourselves apart, because we know we can perform and give a great product, great warranty, great experience, all that stuff. But how does a homeowner know that before they sign with us? So we were really wrestling with that stuff as a contractor ourselves. So that was kind of the whole background to SumoQuote, and that was a lot of the thinking that we've put in over the last number of years here, just on trying to figure out how to set ourselves apart within the industry.
Perfect. So obviously SumoQuote has quote in the name, so I know it's going to be used in the sales side of things. I assume it's important to differentiate yourself through the entire process, but let's focus on that sales piece right now. Other than using SumoQuote to deliver your quote, what are some ways that I can, as a contractor, differentiate myself from my competitors?
Yeah, so you want to be able to show the homeowner and demonstrate in a different type of way how you're going to give them a different experience. And so, SumoQuote, we like it, but there's going to be different ways you have to put some thought into that. One of my guys, and sorry, let me back up a second. The one thing I would say there is, roofing contractors tend to all look the same, sound the same, talk the same, promise the same. Like, it is very difficult for the homeowner to actually tell us apart. Like, if you put yourself in their shoes for a second, that's a really hard thing for them to understand. So they trust Google and some of these other things, which you have to be really good at. But I had one of my guys, when I was leading my sales team on the roofing side, he went out, connected with the homeowner one day. It was one of these homeowners where he was just like, "Hey, Grant, just I'm getting 3 quotes. Don't just think you're getting my business. Getting 3 quotes, gotta have the 3 quotes, right?" And so Grant's like, sure. And he spent some time with them and talks to him. And Grant went back to the office. And because he just talked to me, he just emailed the quote over, and he was going to follow up the next day then. Well, the guy called him back 20 minutes later, and he said, "Grant, just I'm getting 3 quotes, but holy smokes, I just had to call and tell you, like, I have never seen a quote this professional in my entire life. Like, this thing's amazing." And if you think about it like this, as a business, when was the last time you got an invoice for something and you were so compelled because of how that invoice was put together, you had to call them and tell them how amazing it was? Like, it was a different type of experience. So whether it's in your presentation, whether it's something unique you do in how you do your jobs, you've got to figure out some of those things that your competitors aren't doing that you can be different in, and that you can create a unique customer experience for them.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you're talking about you're different and you haven't once mentioned price. And I think so often contractors get caught up in the, hey, we've got to race to the bottom here on price. We've got to be the cheapest. Homeowners don't want that. Like you said, they want something of value that's different. And SumoQuote makes great quotes, don't get me wrong. But the fact that homeowner called Grant and said, man, this was amazing, I think speaks a lot to just the contracting industry in general, because it was different than what he expected to get from a contractor. And so that's what these homeowners have to find. I know we've talked previously, but let's dive in a little bit here. How about during that production phase? Hey, it's great to get the job. There's huge value in the production stage of setting yourself apart, being different. What do you have for ideas there or examples there?
You know what, I come from the sales side, and so I value production immensely because I don't do any of that stuff, nor do I want to do that stuff. I've spent my years shingling on the roof, so I know how to be out there. But I got into sales because, shoot, man, that's hard work, and hats off to them, right, and what they go through. On the production side, one of the things that we've done, obviously keeping the client informed is huge. So making sure there's an easy way for them to understand the next pieces of the project coming up. So our business, we make sure as soon as it hits production, there's emails going out, there's videos going out. That handoff, we try and make as seamless as possible because things are still relational in life. And the homeowner wants to know, shoot, I knew Ryan, I trusted Ryan. Now I don't know who this next person is. Can I trust them? And so, using technology, and again, videos, emails, text messages, set yourself up with those things to help with that process. If I'm going to throw out a little thing, Michael, that we've done at the end of production, that's probably a bit unique. We started doing project summary reports. So at the end of the job, we actually give a report to the client saying, here's a photo of your house now that's finished on our cover, and here's warranty details of the product we installed. Here's images of our inspection that we did at the end, because we do an audit at the end of every job. So, showing the drip edge, showing overviews, showing new value metals, any areas of interest. But we want to give them, A, all their warranty information in one place, because now they're going to hold on to that. And B, we want to give them photos to show the work we did. And that's a perfect time to then ask for a referral, because you've now given them unexpected value at the end of the job. Ask for that referral then, and watch that you'll get a lot more referrals in that time.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great advice. I want to take a break here in just a second and come back and really dive into referrals, talk about some examples of how you can get more referrals. But I would even say, and again, I'm a homeowner, and oftentimes contractors love to show off the work that they do. I'm not getting up on my roof and inspecting the roof. I honestly don't know if I can tell you if you did a good job or not a good job. So you also have to look at what's around where I've been working. What's the homeowner going to notice? And I think that's a huge piece of production as well as, did I leave the yard clean? Or if I'm inside working on an HVAC unit, did I get all the dust cleaned up and all of that stuff taken care of? The homeowner doesn't know if the roof was installed correctly or the HVAC unit was taken care of, but they do notice what is around that area. And if it wasn't cleaned, that's a huge piece of, a failure in your part as a contractor. So, Ryan, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, let's talk referrals and how we can really leverage those.
Let's talk about it.
What's up, guys? Already 2 tacos down on this episode. Remember, the taco counter, for every taco I eat, MMA and Company Cam are donating $60 to local charity. So we've got $120 raised. I'm going to try to eat 3 more in the rest of this episode.
Let's talk about it.
What's up, guys? We're back here. Ryan Shantz with SumoQuote. Ryan, we talked about it just briefly there before we went to break on, asking for referrals. Let's dive a little deeper into referrals. I think that's a huge, huge piece for contractors, and it's oftentimes an area where maybe they're lacking a little bit. Maybe you can use examples or just give suggestions. I ask for the referral. What are some ways to really make sure I can get that referral, and then how do I go about using it?
That's a good question, because referrals can be tough. It's tricky that you might not be at the property at the right time, or it just, the homeowners can be hesitant sometime. Rather than trying to put the homeowner on the spot and say, hey, give me 2 names of 2 of your friends right now, right? Like, nobody wants to be pressured in that way. What works really nicely actually is to tell the homeowner, hey, can you give me, give them that, this is that point where you give them that project summary report, you give them something unexpected to get them extra happy and excited at the end.
Yep.
And then you say, hey, would you mind if we just, if I do a 1-minute video with you, just let me ask you a couple of questions, tell me how the experience went, and be honest, right? We want people to have honest feedback from our customers. Everyone's got a video camera everywhere they go, right? You pull your phone, you ask them a couple questions, you shoot that video, but now that referral is with you wherever you go, right? Yep. So you get that referral, you get 10 more. You've got all these testimonials sitting on your phone. So if you ever need to, you can forward them or just show them to clients as you go. So I think a portable referral like that, a testimonial in video, the next best thing to my next door neighbor telling me to trust somebody is me seeing somebody else talk about how good of an experience they had with that contractor.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge point. And maybe referral, I probably used a bad word with referral. I think getting referrals is great, but it's getting that testimonial or even a review in this sense. How important do you think it is getting that review shot, maybe in front of their property, or just getting it to where it's not looking professionally done and it's more of just hey, I'm here with Ryan. We just finished his roof. We just finished his siding, gutters, whatever, landscaping. Asking some questions there. Do you think it's valuable to have it in that real setting in front of the property?
Yeah, I mean, authenticity trumps everything these days, right? Trust, they talk about trust. So even just the concept of, like, one of the things we do is right at the sales side of things, what we do is we talk through the roofing system and we say, this is what it is. Hey, Michael, you're about to spend 15, 20 grand on a roof here. Why don't I take 5 minutes and just show you how this whole thing fits together? And we show a diagram and talk through that stuff to get that trust and that authenticity. The nice thing with something like that is it starts to position you as their trusted advisor, because no other contractor, landscaper, whatever is doing that. Well, you're now the one giving them better information, feeding that stuff up front. And yeah, that's a huge piece of establishing that. But again, to your point, Michael, that's start to finish, right? So that's the background. That's not feeling like it needs to be completely professionally shot. I mean, this is not a professional background behind me here. Not that I was trying to gain trust somehow with that. It's just, this is where I'm working these days. So I think it's a big deal that it start to finish, you've got a consistency with your brand and that feeling of trust the whole way through.
I love it. And you keyed in on something that I'm personally passionate about, and that's educating throughout the process. And you talked about educating in the sales process, production process, and then educating at the end. This is with the warranty and the roofing system we went ahead and put on, or this is the HVAC unit we put in, or this is the type of plants we installed or planted. I guess you don't install plants, but planted them. I think that education piece is extremely valuable. What are your thoughts on, because I don't want to poison the well with this, but they like to see you as their trusted expert, but if they know more about the topic than, say, their friends, do you think people enjoy being that expert or pseudo expert in their own circles?
100%. I mean, on the education side, I'll put it this way. I think a lot of contractors think, oh man, I'm going to use a lot of industry jargon and I'm going to make it confusing. And I'm actually, if they consider me the expert and they don't understand, then they have to use me, because now, oh shoot, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I'm nervous. right? Like,
Mhm.
and there's this fear-based selling or mentality, which I find quite confusing. There's a lot of theory and research and stuff that goes into this concept called behavioral economics, and within that, it talks about mental fatigue. And so you want to make things as easy as possible for the client to understand, because if it's easy to understand, it's easy to buy. It's hard to understand, it's actually hard to buy, and it goes in the wrong direction. So educating them in a really simple, easy to understand way, yes, is 100% critical. Actually, one of my sales guys a couple of years ago, he came into my office and he said, "Hey Ryan, you'll love this story. I was sitting down with the homeowner. We were never going to win this job. It was a $43,000 Hardy job, and the guy was going to go with this other contractor. Their quote was sitting right on the table, but the guy said, sure, if you're in the area, swing by 10 minutes, I'll give you, right? And after 5 minutes, the guy looks at me and says, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go with you on this. I mean, look at your quote. It's so much more detailed. The interesting thing is, he could see the competitor's quote. He thought the competitor's quote was more detailed, but it was filled with industry jargon. It was obviously built in like Word or something, and it was just text, text, text. And the homeowner just checked out. Like, you get that eyes glaze over look because they don't understand and they don't care. Whereas if you give them something full of photos, easy to understand, easy to track through, very visual and simple, and you educate them well with that, man, it's so much easier. Trust goes up, education goes up. Yeah, your sales go up.
Yeah, that level of comfort as a homeowner that not only do I trust this person, I think I have an idea of what's going to go into this project. Yes, that's what I want. So I think that's a huge point. So what we've talked about so far is, starting day one, creating that memorable moment, creating that differentiation in your business, and keeping that going all the way through completion. Do you see that translating into more online reviews and word of mouth referrals that are just organic?
Yeah, you still need to be intentional about it, right? You still need to ask. You still need to, in that email, put that button or that hyperlink to make it really easy for them. And you still need to value it. If you don't value it yourself, you're not going to prioritize it. But yeah, no, like those things, those are significant things. We got more intentional about some of these things and about presenting differently and looking differently and setting ourselves apart and creating a different customer experience. And for us personally, we had largely been focused on insurance work because, our area was an insurance market. We're on the edge of the Rockies, just like Denver, so we get smashed with those storms all the time. But we were specifically wanting to try and increase our retail sales. And in 2 years, when we got a lot more intentional about this customer experience and setting ourselves apart and gaining better trust and visually giving things easier to understand and more appealing, our retail sales with the same number of leads went from 3.1 million to 5.1 million. So we increased 64% with no extra leads just by increasing our closing rate. So when you can do these things, you value them throughout, you create these unique experiences, but your closing rates, your sales, like you should see a big increase on that because you're different than the other contractors out there and how you do things.
Absolutely. So 2 things there you hit on. One, increasing your numbers with the same number of staff. We're going to talk all about that on next week's episode to talk about it with Ryan Holiday and Inc. So good prelude to that. But also, you're talking about, hey, we're here, we're trying to set ourselves apart, we're doing these things, we're getting more into the retail, those kind of things, but we're intentional about it. We want to really make sure that customer experience is great. Is it important to let the customer know, hey, this is what you can expect from us? I think that's probably a spot where contractors are often maybe falling short. They don't set the expectations of the homeowner and say, hey, here you go, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner. This is what you can expect us to do. And because of that, they're maybe chasing, unattainable expectations that the homeowner has. So I think that, that expectation and that customer experience, it sounds like you guys kind of let them know what to expect. Is that kind of in line with the company?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're nailing there is communication is the biggest thing with all of that, right? You're letting them know what to expect. That's one piece of the communication throughout the process. we haven't, SumoQuote hasn't shared this stuff publicly at all yet. So consider this our, grand announcement out there. But we're going to be launching a client portal shortly because we see this need of communication lacking, tracking all that communication in one place, making it really easy for the homeowner to have their photos and their documents and all of the messaging, but also to run virtual meetings through there. But it's the reason we're doing that is because we value communication with clients so much. So obviously the big thing SumoQuote does right now is trying to have that different type of communication with the client at the sales level. But to your point, Michael, communication's difficult, and anything that you can do to communicate better with the client, they will appreciate it. And even at the beginning of the job, say, hey, what's your preferred method of communication? Do you like text? Do you like phone? Do you like email? We can do any of them. So to give them the options and make it about them, that will make it so much easier in that whole relationship as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. Make it about them. And I've got a 7 and a 4-year-old, and we use options all the time at our house, but they're always options that I want as well. And so, I think I've got a contractor in Texas, and he says, you know what? You're going to talk to a live human Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., 100%. We have an emergency line where you call and you leave a message. We'll get back to you as soon as possible on any of those off hours. And I said, holy cow, you're in Texas. You get storms all the time. You're losing out on revenue. You're losing out on leads. He goes, no, people love it because they understand it makes sense to them, but we set it up right away. Hey, you can call us from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're going to answer no matter what. Otherwise, we'll get back to you at our earliest convenience. And he goes, we're fine because we let them know what to expect from us, maybe text or email or whatever. But so I think you're dead on is give them options, make sure those options work for you, and it's going to be a huge overall success.
Well, and I was going to say, you commented on you're losing revenue, you're losing leads, because that would be the normal thought with that, right? Yeah. In my mind, I'm like, no, you're gaining revenue, you're gaining leads, you're gaining referrals. And in a storm, man, when homeowners are all talking on the block and they're hanging out outside and they're complaining about how they haven't heard from this company and that company and everything else, and you're like, oh yeah, are you kidding me? The company I work with, they answer the phone 100% of the time. You gain so much business with stuff like that. I think it's brilliant. I think that's great. Yeah,
and he, he's big on family, and they've got a lot more to their sales pitch, but it makes complete sense. If I'm not at work, I want to be with my family. I want to be enjoying life. And he goes, that's how our salespeople, that's how our production team, our project managers, that's how they are as well. We understand, emergency situations come up. So that's why we have the emergency number that we give them. And we, check that periodically. But I loved it. When I heard it, I was like, yeah, that's a bad idea. And then as, like you said, the more you kind of process it, it's pretty great idea. So Ryan, really appreciate you jumping on with us today. Great advice. Differentiate yourself as a company. Create a great experience for that customer. Any final parting shots? Obviously, SumoQuote and Company Cam, great partners. It's a great tool to really differentiate yourself. Any final takeaways that you want to leave the contractors with?
You know what? Just to kind of summarize, put a bow on what we were just talking about there with the phone call and how inconvenient it is. You know what? I think the biggest thing to change a business is to think and put yourself in the customer's shoes more. Because having that person there to answer it all the time is inconvenient, but don't think about your business, think about the customer, right? And ultimately, I just think if you value the customer above anything else, you will see that back in spades on revenues, on close percentage, on margins, on all kinds of things. But keep thinking about the customer and keep thinking about different things that you can do to connect with them and what's convenient for them, and make it all about them, and your company is going to do great.
Absolutely. I love it. Make it about the customer, and in the end, it's going to be a win for you. So again, Ryan, thanks so much for jumping on. If you guys aren't familiar with SumoQuote, check them out, and we will see you next week. Ryan Holiday with Inc., episode 6 of Talk About It.
Let's talk about it.